Hey there! We are thrilled to welcome you back to our channel for another exciting episode of Yuuna and the Haunted Hot Springs. You see, Fuyuzora had a bit of a morning routine where he'd wake up flying in the air, all thanks to Yuuna's poltergeist skills. But one fine day, Fuyuzora avoided getting tossed around like a ragdoll. It was a miracle, really. So, when Yuuna woke up and saw that Fuyuzora was nowhere to be found, she panicked. Eventually, Yuuna found out that Fuyuzora had actually gone to school. For Fuyuzora, being in school was a dream come true. He even reminisced about his elementary school days, when he used to protect his classmates from evil spirits. Meanwhile, Fuyuzora's classmates couldn't stop talking about Miyazaki, the stunning girl in their class. Apparently, she was drop-dead gorgeous, and people were even telling her she should be a model. Fuyuzora stared at Miyazaki to take in the fullness of her beauty, couldn't help but stare at her beauty. It was like looking at a work of art. Unfortunately, Yuuna was behind her and was up to no good. She started asking about the material of Miyazaki's skirt, and before anyone could stop her, the skirt went up. Poor Miyazaki was mortified. What would she think of this new boy who made her skirt fly up? Of course, the rest of the class thought Fuyuzora had magical powers that made the skirt rise. They had no idea it was all Yuuna's doing. Fuyuzora tried to explain himself, but it was no use. Yuuna had to come clean and apologize for her actions. She explained that she wanted to change into the school uniform as part of her skill set. You see, she had the ability to transform into anything she could imagine. As if things weren't already chaotic enough, Fuyuzora had to go and open his mouth. He mentioned that Yuuna was always naked since her clothes were a part of her body. This caused Yuuna to become embarrassed, and her emotions got the best of her. Suddenly, the entire class found themselves flying in the air. Thankfully, Fuyuzora was able to calm her down, but the whole class came crashing down to the ground. Just then, the teacher walked in and asked everyone to introduce themselves. When it was Fuyuzora's turn, he felt compelled to apologize for the confusion caused earlier. But he really should have just kept quiet. Instead, he went on to explain that a ghost had been with him the previous day and caused all the commotion. Of course, nobody believed him. They all laughed and thought he was making up stories. But Fuyuzora didn't let it get to him. He knew the truth, and that was all that mattered. Plus, he had bigger things to worry about, like his power to punch away evil spirits. Who knows what kind of trouble he'll get into next. He told them they could reach out to him if they needed help concerning any spiritual stuff. All the class laughs hard at this except Miyazaki. She is obviously interested in what he just said. Miyazaki approaches him later on and places her hand on her clothes as if she's about to strip down. Oh, snap. Is this really happening? But before we can start popping popcorn, Miyazaki tells him about some crazy spiritual stuff happening with her teddy bears. And Fuyuzora's all like, say no more, fam. I got you. After telling Fuyuzora about it, he was more than happy to help. He offers to go with her to her room where it happened, and then Miyazaki gets awkward. It was her first time leading a guy to her room. Well, there's always a first time. But she gets scared at the thought that Fuyuzora might get in the mood and want to do something with her, if you know what I mean. Staring at the stuffed animals, Fuyuzora decides it would be best to exorcise them. He starts punching the dolls, hoping to punch out the spirit possessing them. Well, this doesn't go down well with Miyazaki, and she punches him in the face. She loves her toys and couldn't bear seeing them punched like that in the name of exorcism. Fuyuzora then explains that the spirit would have been long gone if the toys were possessed. Why not? That punch was mad, and no evil spirit could ever withstand it. But this is his observation, nothing comes out of the bears as he punches them. This could only mean one thing. Something or someone is controlling them from elsewhere. He gives one of the toys to Yuuna and asks her to see through it. One thing he shouldn't have done. Well, as soon as she picks it up, the face of the toy changes into a real bear. Yuuna gets scared by this and gets nervous. Time to fly. When she calms down a bit, Fuyuzora falls right onto Miyazaki. Whoopsies. She calls him a pervert and asks him to leave her house. Fuyuzora tells Yuuna they should watch and see, and they leave the house. Unknown to them, there was a masked creature close to the house. Could this creature be the one controlling the toys? Only time will tell. Later that night, after taking a bath, Miyazaki wondered if her toys would move by themselves again. Could things get any weirder? Suddenly, they all started flying, and this time they tore her clothes, exposing her full body and her bouncy marshmallows. Who else could save them? I know someone, Fuyuzora. Fuyuzora appeared and punched the stuffed animals. He gave Miyazaki his coat and grabbed one of the animals. It was time to punch out the real culprit. They stepped outside, and a streak emerged from the bear's body. It was time for Yuuna to work. She wanted to help and decided to follow their earlier plan. The plan was for Fuyuzora to explain that whoever controlled the stuffed animals would be linked to them through a spirit line. When Miyazaki told Fuyuzora to leave her house earlier, he pretended to leave, but stayed behind to see the next attack. So the moment a spirit line showed up, Yuuna would trace it to the source. And according to plan, the line showed up. As Yuuna traced it down, Fuyuzora carried Miyazaki. They were going to follow the line as well. As soon as they hit the ground, they were face to face with the culprit. Fuyuzora demanded answers as to why it was animating the animals. But the sneaky little devil wasn't going to give up without a fight. It hurled a leaf to the ground, and with a poof, it transformed into a monstrous beast ready to attack. But Fuyuzora wasn't intimidated, he had his punch fist at the ready. And with just one punch, he turned the creature back into a harmless leaf. You better watch out, that fist is lethal. With the threat of violence looming, the culprit spilled the beans. Now, before I continue, I thought we were dealing with a male hooded figure haunting a lovely lady. But it turned out to be a lady raccoon named Koyuzu Shigaraki. Her family was into leaf magic, and they had to transform at a certain age to become adults. But poor Koyuzu was terrible at transforming, so she hid out in a temple by herself. And that's when she started trolling Miyazaki. Why, you ask? It's because of those magnificent watermelons on Miyazaki's chest. Koyuzu wanted a peek, and when she saw Fuyuzora, she knew it was game over. So, she decided to go all out and try to see those melons again that very day. She begged for forgiveness and Miyazaki forgave her. To make up for her behavior, Miyazaki decided to give Koyuzu a free look. And boy, was she excited. She couldn't take her eyes off those bouncy-looking marshmallows. Miyazaki, on the other hand, was embarrassed and thought that Fuyuzora had also stolen a peek, but he denied it. Well, it looks like our little raccoon troublemaker, Koyuzu, has found herself a new hobby. No, she's not stealing anymore, instead, she's indulging in some bouncy fun with Nanko and Seidri's ample assets. Miyazaki couldn't believe it when Fuyuzora updated her on Koyuzu's latest escapades. It seems that the raccoon girl has finally found her true calling in life, playing with balloons. But let's be honest, who can blame her? Those bad boys are practically begging to be played with. And lucky for Koyuzu, she's got a front row seat to all the action. Nanko and Seidri are more than happy to let her have a go at their goodies. And as for Miyazaki, well, she's just glad that Koyuzu has found a new hobby that doesn't involve haunting her. Maybe next time they're in a pinch, they'll call upon Koyuzu's new talents to save the day. As a token of her gratitude, Miyazaki baked up a batch of fresh cookies for Fuyuzora. And let me tell you, this man was so happy to receive them. He hadn't tasted cookies that good in ages. Phew, what a wild ride. But alas, it's time for us to draw the curtain on this adventure. Stay tuned for the next one, folks. Who knows what kind of mischief and mayhem we'll get up to next time.